Why do some people seem endlessly confident on the outside, yet strangely fragile underneath? Why do they crave admiration, reacting tensely to criticism, and build their identity around how others see them? To understand narcissism, you have to look past the stereotypes and into the psychology that shapes one of the most complex personality patterns in human behavior. Narcissism isn't simply arrogance or vanity. It's a psychological structure built to protect a vulnerable sense of self. While narcissistic individuals may appear bold, charismatic, or self-assured, their internal world is often unstable. Their self-esteem rises and falls rapidly, depending on how much validation they receive from the outside world. This creates a constant need for admiration, attention, and control over how others perceive them. The outward confidence is not the core of narcissism. It's the armor. At the heart of narcissism is a fragile identity. Most people develop a stable sense of self over time, built from consistent emotional experiences and supportive relationships. But for individuals with strong narcissistic traits, that foundation is shaky. Their self-worth depends heavily on external feedback. When they are praised, they feel powerful. When they are ignored or criticized, their emotional world can collapse quickly. This instability drives many of the behaviors associated with narcissism, from self-promotion to defensiveness. One of the key psychological mechanisms behind narcissism is self-enhancement. This is the brain's tendency to exaggerate strengths and minimize weaknesses. Everyone does this to some degree, but narcissistic individuals rely on it as a primary coping strategy. They construct a grandiose self-image not because they believe they are flawless, but because acknowledging vulnerability feels emotionally dangerous. The grandiose self becomes a shield that protects them from shame, insecurity, and the fear of being ordinary. Another important factor is emotional regulation. Narcissistic individuals often struggle to manage difficult emotions internally. Instead of processing feelings like shame, fear, or rejection, they externalize them. If they feel criticized, they may lash out. If they feel insecure, they may boast. If they feel threatened, they may belittle others. These behaviors are not random. They are attempts to regulate overwhelming internal states by shifting the emotional tension outward. This is why interactions with narcissistic individuals can feel unpredictable or draining. Their emotional balance depends on controlling the emotional environment around them. A common misconception is that narcissistic individuals lack empathy entirely. In reality, they often have selective empathy. They can understand how others feel, but their ability to care is inconsistent. When someone's emotions align with their goals or self-image, they may appear warm or attentive. But when empathy requires them to set aside their own needs, it becomes much harder. Their emotional attention is self-focused, and their capacity for empathy is often overridden by the drive to maintain self-esteem. The origins of narcissism often trace back to early developmental experiences. Some individuals grow up being excessively praised, idealized, or treated as exceptional. Others grow up with emotional neglect, inconsistency, or conditional love. These two extremes, overvaluation and undernurturing, can lead to the same outcome: a child who learns that their worth depends on external approval. They do not develop a stable internal sense of self. Instead, they learn to construct one based on how others respond to them. This creates a lifelong pattern of seeking validation, admiration, and control to maintain emotional stability. Social environments also shape narcissistic tendencies. Modern culture rewards visibility, self-promotion, and personal branding. Social media amplifies traits associated with narcissism by encouraging comparison, competition, and curated identity. While social media does not create narcissism, it can reinforce narcissistic patterns by providing constant opportunities for attention and validation. The more someone relies on external approval to feel secure, the more vulnerable they become to narcissistic dynamics. Interpersonally, narcissism often follows a cycle of idealization and devaluation. At first, narcissistic individuals may appear charming, attentive, and magnetic. They idealize others because doing so enhances their own self-image. But when the other person fails to meet their expectations or challenges their sense of superiority, the idealization collapses. Devaluation follows not because the other person has changed, but because the narcissistic individual's emotional equilibrium has been disrupted. This cycle is not about cruelty, it is about emotional regulation. The shift from admiration to criticism is a way to restore internal balance. Another psychological element is entitlement. Narcissistic individuals often believe they deserve special treatment, not because they think they are better than everyone else, but because their emotional system depends on being treated as exceptional. Entitlement acts as a buffer against vulnerability. If they are treated as ordinary, their fragile self-esteem feels threatened. This is why they may react strongly to boundaries, rules, or perceived slights. Their sense of self is tied to the belief that they must be recognized, respected, or prioritized to remain emotionally stable. It's important to remember that narcissism exists on a spectrum. Many people have narcissistic traits without having a narcissistic personality disorder. Traits like ambition, confidence, and self-promotion can be adaptive in moderation. Narcissism becomes problematic when it disrupts relationships, emotional stability, or the ability to connect authentically with others. At its core, narcissism is not about ego, it is about protection. It is a psychological strategy designed to shield a vulnerable self from emotional pain. Understanding narcissism requires compassion without excusing harmful behavior. Narcissistic individuals are not simply difficult people. They are people whose emotional systems were shaped by environments that did not allow them to develop a stable, secure sense of self. Their behaviors may be challenging, but they are rooted in deep psychological patterns that once served a protective purpose. Recognizing this does not justify harmful actions, but it does provide a clearer lens through which to understand them. Narcissism is ultimately a story about identity, vulnerability, and the human need for connection. Beneath the grandiosity lies fragility. Beneath the confidence lies insecurity. Beneath the self-focus lies a longing for validation that was never fully met. When you understand the psychology of narcissism, you see not just the behavior, but the emotional architecture behind it, a complex system built to protect a self that never learned how to feel safe on its own.